Sports, 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 sports.
Hey there, sports fans. Welcome to Sportsball, part of the SPDM Crew podcast. We talk about sports-related topics, but we focus on you, the fan, and what you like, whether it's a sport, team, event, athlete, or sports-related news. I'm going to talk about the NBA because there's a lot going on in the NBA right now. And one thing that I want to talk about before I get into the playoffs is I want to talk about the NBA draft lottery, which that so the Dallas Mavericks won the NBA draft lottery, and my conspiracy theory brain just for me thinks that it's rigged. It's totally rigged. It is giving Nico Harrison just a pass on his ability to make perhaps the world's worst trade, and I just do not understand how the Dallas Mavericks can get the first pick when they had like a under 2% chance of getting the number one pick. And it is very much discounting the tanking that was done by teams like Brooklyn, teams like Washington, teams like Utah. So I'm not one that's calling for the draft lottery to be reformed. I just think that it's crazy that in the last like 5 years, San Antonio was the team that had the best odds to get Victor Wembanyama, and they got it no problem. Whereas in other years, like the Atlanta Hawks last year, with a pretty so-so draft, got a player who's not really like going to be franchise changing per se, but still nonetheless, we're not rewarding teams that are tanking, very obviously, very blatantly, which I'm fine with, I guess. But how else are some of those teams going to get top end talent? I don't know. But I mean, congrats, Dallas Mavericks fans. You're going to get Cooper Flag, which seems like he's going to be an amazing player from the start. So I'm very curious to see how that plays out. And I'm going to see how Luka responds to all of this next year when he's on the Lakers. Or for a full season. So we'll see how that plays out. I also do find it a little weird that the NBA has not announced who the MVP is yet, but I'm assuming that they didn't want to announce the MVP during the Western Conference semifinals, where your two front runners, Shea Gilgeous Alexander and Nikola Jokic were going up against one another. So yeah, that's interesting to say the least. So all right, let's talk about the NBA playoffs because the NBA playoffs have been very interesting. They have not gone at all how I thought they were going to go. In fact, my bracket is just completely ruined right now, but you have one. This is Both of these are filled with young teams that have size and a lot of talent. So, and for the most part, in the West, it's size and depth. That's going to be the big things that define the Western Conference Finals, because you got the number one seed, the Oklahoma City Thunder, after trouncing the Nuggets in their Game 7 series clinching victory, and then you have the Timberwolves beating the Steph Curry Golden State Warriors in 5 games. Yeah, this one's gonna be an all out battle, and I'm looking forward to this. I think this is going to be a big test for the Thunder because they swept the Grizzlies, who they weren't much of anything, and they went the distance against the Nuggets. So I'm curious to see how Oklahoma City is going to respond, especially because Minnesota is much better defensively. They're much deeper of a team, and they have Ant Edwards, who's playing. He's not having a great playoffs, but he's playing out of his mind right now. And Julius Randle is just continuing to prove that he's definitely worth it when it comes to playoff performance. I am wondering a little bit if this is a situation where he is maybe overperforming because he's in for a payday. So we shall see about that. But on the other side, you've got a little bit more of a classic matchup. You've got the Indiana Pacers and the New York Knicks, which is interesting because I didn't think the Knicks had a chance against the Celtics, but I think the problem that the Celtics ran into is that they just ran out of steam and the injury bug finally caught up to them. And I think that's the same thing that happened with the Cavaliers. But nonetheless, I still think that, they both won their series. We got to give them a little bit of credit for that. So I don't really know what to make of this because you've got two all-star point guards playing out of their minds right now with Tyrese Halliburton and with Jalen Brunson. So I think here's where I think the advantage is going to come in. I think the Pacers are playing much better defense, and I think Rick Carlisle is a better playoff coach than Tom Thibodeau is because Tom Thibodeau doesn't really do much from an offensive standpoint, and more importantly, Tom Thibodeau is going to run his starters into the ground. I think the Knicks are one injury away from their whole season falling apart. However, here's kind of where my head's at right now. I really want a Minnesota Timberwolves New York Knicks finals. And I want to see who definitively won the cat trade at the beginning of the season. Did the Timberwolves win it by shipping Cat off to New York in exchange for Julius Randle and Dante DiVincenzo, or did the Knicks win despite the fact that Cat is kind of not been great in these playoffs? Not because he hasn't been assertive enough, but mainly because Tom Thibodeau doesn't really do much with the offense running through Cat. So I'm very curious to see how this pans out. In my head canon, I'm thinking Thunder Knicks with the Thunder holding a bit of an advantage, but I would love it. Just love it if the Timberwolves and the Knicks went up against each other in the NBA Finals. But that's just me. And because of a lot of things that have shook out from a playoff standpoint, there's going to be a lot that's going to be happening in the off season that's going to determine the future for a lot of these NBA teams. And I guess some of the big storylines is that the Celtics right now, they're faced with they just got sold this year for a record-setting amount. Their payroll is out of control. So I'm curious to see how they're going to respond to this Jason Tatum Achilles tear injury that is going to be something that knocks him out for pretty much most of next season, if and then even partially into the season after that. And everybody's curious to see if the Bucks are actually going to pull the trigger and trade Giannis. I personally don't think it's going to happen, but unless they get like a king's ransom for Giannis, so we'll see about that. Miami's at a bit of a crossroads right now because they traded away Jimmy Butler and they just need something because they didn't have much of anything in the playoffs. Because Tyler Hero was fine, but Bam Adebayo has had like a uncharacteristically slow year, so we'll see about that. But the Magic and the Pistons, they're going to be on the rise. The Pacers are going to be pretty high up there. Cavaliers need to they need to rise to the expectations that have been set to them, but they also need to get healthier as well. So we'll see about that. As for kind of all the playoff teams in the West, kind of for me, all eyes are on a couple things. One, is Nikola Jokic happy with how things are going in Denver? I think David Adelman did a pretty good job considering the shit circumstance that he was in, but I also do think that Jokic is probably looking around and is like, God, I need more help. Please give me more help. Russell Westbrook is probably not going to be on the team next year, and they just need a couple other people on the team. Aaron Gordon took a big leap this year, so I kind of foresee him staying on the team, which leaves Jamal Murray and which leaves Michael Porter Jr. as potential trade chips. So we'll see about that. And then I'm looking at the Golden State Warriors and the Lakers. They're old teams. that need youth, athleticism, and more size. And if they want to compete in the Western Conference, they got to increase all of those things. And they're both pretty strapped for anything when it comes to leverage to try to swing a trade. They're pretty strapped for cash as well to sign free agents. So we'll see how that pans out. But overall, the NBA playoffs, I've been super excited about them. So I've been really enjoying that. That's going to do it for this episode of Sportsball. Be sure to like, rate, and subscribe to anything and everything SPDM Crew, wherever you get your podcast. Join us on social media on Facebook, Instagram, X, Threads, YouTube, LinkedIn, and Blue Sky at SPDM Crew. Check out our website at SP.com. Shout out to Highflyer Creative Studios for making our awesome logo. Greatly appreciate their support. And if you have any marketing, logo, or brand standard needs, contact them at highflyercreative.com. Check out the other shows on our network. We've got a lot of great shows out there right now, so check them out. We're really proud of a lot of the work that we're doing, so check out those other shows. And if you've got a podcast idea or you're interested in being part of the SPDM crew as a guest or collaborating, email us at spdmcrew@gmail.com. Until next time, pain heals, chicks dig scars, glory lasts forever.